All right, it's that time of year again. A lot of us are going through our insurance policies. You probably have general liability. You may have errors and omissions, but do you have cyber liability insurance? Do you need it? Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Chris Burns from Tech Gurus, and welcome back. So, every company has risk. It doesn't matter how big you are, how small you are, you all have risk. So we buy insurance to transfer some of that risk. It could be general liability to protect us against somebody tripping and falling. It could be against maybe our building catching on fire, things like that. But do you need cyber liability insurance? And it's an important question that we all need to talk about. So let's go through, and I'm going to do a little bit of a primer today on cyber liability insurance, what it includes, what it doesn't include. And then throughout this month of February, we're going to go through and we're going to dive a little deeper on each one of these. So what is cyber insurance designed to do? Well, it's designed to protect your company from primary risks. And it's usually broke down into 4 categories: network security and privacy liability, network business interruption, media liability, and errors and omissions. So let's break down each of those. Okay, so first let's cover network security coverage. And that's going to include first-party costs, expenses that you directly incur because of a cyber incident. So sometimes that could be legal expenses. It could be IT forensics teams to come in there and figure out what happened. It could be negotiation and payment of a ransomware payment. We don't recommend you pay it, but it still happens. It could be data restoration costs, breach notification to consumers. So if you lose their data, if you have to notify them, it's going to cover those costs. Setting up a call center to then field those costs should be included. Public relations expertise, so somebody that can come out there and help you with your PR to get ahead of this. And also credit monitoring and identity restoration. So if you have private information for individuals, you're probably going to have breach notification laws in your state, and you're going to have to then pay for credit monitoring and maybe even pay to restore their identity. So let's move on to network business interruptions. So this is important because it might not be about just your network. It could be about a third-party provider that goes down due to some sort of cyber incident. So a lot of times what this will cover is you can recover lost profits, maybe some fixed expenses because of it, and it also might include some extra costs that are incurred during the time that your business was impacted. Again, if you use like a data center or use a third party, there's a good chance if you read through it that they would actually cover if your business is interrupted. Now, you'd have to determine whether it's worth it to turn that in, and you have to talk to an insurance agent to make sure that that's possible. So let's move on to media liability. So we talk about media liability. This probably doesn't apply to everybody, but it provides coverage to your intellectual property if it's infringed or some other kind of patent infringement resulting from the advertising of your services. Now, this often applies to social media posts, online advertising, as well as printed advertising. So finally, errors and omissions, or sometimes referred to as E&O. A lot of times when we have a cyber event, we can't deliver our services to our customers, and that's where E&O is going to come in. So if for some reason you have an event and you can't deliver what you've contractually obligated to deliver to a customer, this can help cover those costs. Now, this can include technology services like what we do. It could be more traditional, like what a lawyer, a doctor, architect, or an engineer delivers. And it also addresses allegations of negligence or breach of contract should this occur. So that could include a legal defense. It could include all of the costs for that, indemnification resulting from a lawsuit or a dispute with your customer. So that's really critical. If you have a cyber event that really takes your business down and you can't go through your contractual obligations, actually deliver, there's a good chance that you're going to get sued for breach. And that's where that would come in and help you protect your business. So let's move on to what doesn't cyber liability insurance cover. Okay, so what's cyber liability insurance not going to cover? Typically, it won't cover potential future loss of profits. So if you have a cyber event that really impacts your business, it's not going to pay you out on what you would have lost in profits. It might pay you out on what you lost during the time of the event, but even if you lose a contract that's worth $1 million, they're not going to pay you out for the rest of that contract because you had a cyber event. Now, it's also probably not going to cover the loss of intellectual property due to its theft. So if your business valuation declines because you had IP stolen, they're not going to cover that. And typically, they're not going to cover the betterment or the cost of improving your internal technology systems, including software security upgrades that are required after a cyber event. So this really illustrates the idea of risk management. Now, I didn't cover that in the beginning, but what you need to do is look at your business and determine, okay, is there a transfer of risk that needs to happen? So if we buy insurance that covers our building, we're buying it because if something happens like a fire or a natural disaster or something like that, it's going to be covered because, quite frankly, most of us can't just write a check for, say, $1 million if you have a building, right? The same applies for your business when you're talking about cyber liability insurance. There's so many things that can happen during a cyber event that could affect your business. Now, I gave you the high level of this, and each policy is completely different. What we're going to do over the next couple of weeks is actually dive into a policy, look at even the applications that are part of this, so you get a good idea of what you have to do as a business owner to decide whether it's right for you, and also what you have to have implemented in your business to actually be covered. Because that's changed. From the time at the end of 2020 or the beginning of 2021 to now, we've seen massive changes in the requirements that you have to even get cyber liability insurance. So I hope this was helpful, and until next time, stay cyber safe.